Now we are coming from the PPWR to the WEEE. So it's a lot about legislation. It's about the European Union and how this is handled. So we welcome Frank Stammer. Frank Stammer will do the moderation of the next 30 minutes.
Thank you.
And so welcome on stage the new panel. So please feel free to come.
Habt ihr die Handsender?
So this little switch
and
during lunchtime.
Very unfair.
Stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So I just wanted to give you a little quick briefing on what's happening in WEEE. Maybe we all heard about the PPWR now set in charge for entering into design for recycling for the recyclate integration quota, and of course we all know about the end-of-life vehicle regulation. And the next big thing I hoped to present you here is the WEEE amendment. So the whole discussion in Europe, in Brussels, in Berlin, wherever, starting for electronic and electronic equipment. First of all, little intro to myself. I'm coming from a lobby organization situated in Germany, founded back in 1950 for plastic converters, and for over 40 years now also for compounders and recyclers. So we're doing this whole German lobbying for technical applications as well as for the circular economy quite some time, and I think we're doing pretty good, seeing so many familiar faces around here. When I'm jumping into the big circle, what are we all talking about? I think we can narrow down the whole discussion in Brussels and wherever in the politics and standardization and in our society to 4 big chunks we have to deal with. On the one hand, of course, circular economy. The circular economy plan back into the EU plastic strategy, talking about 10 million tons by 2025. We're right in there, but not quite there. Then we have the zero emission goal. I was told there's some kind of a black box over here. And where we have to get towards the CO2 neutral continent. Then we have, of course, the zero pollution plan. We all know microplastics in oceans, we don't want to have them there, and also for the toxic-free environment. So these are the big 4 chunks. And when you zoom in into those variety of standards, regulation, upcoming directive, upcoming whatever you name it, that's quite a lot. And in some kind of cases, you lose totally oversight, frankly speaking. And we're now here at K-Fair, and everybody is talking about these AI topics. So the easiest way is to actually ask the AI, here we go, which I did in the morning. I asked, dear ChatGPT, because you have to be friendly to an AI. You don't know when they come across the Matrix movies or the Terminator movies, and you don't know when they take over. So always be nice to your AI. Dear ChatGPT, can you please tell me everything you know about the amendment of the EU WEEE directive, and please focus on future changes proposed by the EU Commission and their implications on the plastic industry. And where is it? And please be brief. I have only 3 minutes for my presentation. Here we go. So ChatGPT got me a lot of information, which I narrowed down. All this presentation can be downloaded afterwards. So what is the scope? We want to keep the raw materials, the raw critical materials here in Europe, stricter collection and recycling targets, better treatment of waste streams, and all these upcoming new products now becoming to waste in the near future. And what it's that where is it? Here. This one? This one? This one. And what were the implications for the plastic industry? What did the AI know? increase the volumes of post-consumer and discarded plastics from WEEE. Demand for higher quality in polymer recycling, shift design, more competition in secondary plastics, stricter regulation, and new opportunities. So the AI is pretty close on that, what we know as a lobby organization. But there are certain implications which the AI doesn't know. Due to our dialogue with the policymakers, with the whole operative in the back, there's certain more precise informations. The first information, there's a conversion from the directive to a regulation, which implies actually that the whole WEEE regulation will be the same in all member states. It's all the same. There's no national derogation. Also, they are discussing about recycling targets as well as recyclate integration targets in a spread between 15 to 25%. And everybody who followed also the end-of-life vehicle regulation, they're also this spread in the discussion for now. Also, we all see this adoption within the PPWR, within the end-of-life vehicle regulation towards secondary legal acts. Now, whether it's an implicating act or a delegated act, there are a certain basis regulation which can be updated in the near future. And that's what's happening at the moment. Now, I have to jump a little and take a look at the time. And I want to discuss with two very, very, very good and experienced and loved experts on my side. On the one hand, we have Tatjana Dänzer, Dr. Tatjana Dänzer from Miele. She's actually in charge in the lab from Miele for dishwashers and as well for the whole transition of plastics, circular, and so on and so forth. Take a look at her presentation. And on the other hand, we have Fridolin Pflüger. Also, he's the CEO from HolyPoly, very young and creative startup here in Germany, and you have to visit his booth. I'm not telling anything about, maybe we have the time to talk about that. So, without further ado, Tatjana, now it's up to you.
Thank you.
Sorry for taking so much time.
No problem. Let me just check.
They're opening the presentation. They're starting presentation. Now you can go.
Okay, yeah, there we are. Okay, thank you for the kind introduction. I will briefly introduce you to the company Miele in just a few words. We are a traditional German company, very traditional. We are still under the leadership of the predecessors of the founding fathers, Miele and Zinkan. And I just want basically to give you two take-home messages on this slide. So what you have to understand is Miele is a premium brand. So we strive for the highest quality possible. Longevity is a very big topic for us, which you will then also see in the end, of course, or find in a higher price segment. And the second message you should understand for the following discussion is we are very vertically integrated. So we do have a lot of production facilities in Germany. We produce all our machines, or most of our machines, by ourselves. But we also develop and produce our own drives and motors, and especially also our own plastic parts. We have our own plastic workshop in Warendorf, where we have like 50 injection molding machines. So we have a very in-depth insight and knowledge over the whole supply chain dealing with plastics, and nowadays also dealing with recycled plastics and sustainable alternatives.
Somewhere, okay, you got it better.
Very quick look into the appliances that we sell. We sell all sorts of kitchen appliances, laundry care, dishwashers. We also have a professional segment, but there's not much to talk about plastics. Most important for you is the biggest chances for plastics and also plastic recyclates. the washing machines, dryers, dishwashers, and also the small domestic appliances, which are the vacuum cleaners and also the coffee machines. In this slide, I want to highlight a few requirements that we have. I'm always told there's so much packaging waste in the fields. Please use them. Look at the ELV, look at the automotive, what they're doing. They're kickstarting everything right now. Why can you not do this? We, of course, do a lot in terms of assessing, qualifying recycled plastics, but you have to understand that the plastics that we use are different plastics than especially the packaging waste, because packaging is made for a short lifetime, and our machines are designed for at least 20 years lifetime. So that's a promise that we have to keep, even with using recycled plastics. And we are also bound to a lot of global regulations. For example, UL regulation in the US market. This applies for the recycled plastics too. But luckily, we see a lot of suppliers already going into the UL certification with their material choices. And as I said before, we are a premium brand, so the customer also demands some kind of premium surface in their visible parts because they want to brag sometimes with our machines or appliance. And last but not least, a few words towards our sustainability strategy. So it's basically built on two main pillars. Longevity, I have already addressed, 20 years lifetime, but also performance. Of course, the machine has to do what the customer expects it to do. And the main goal here is actually to save as many resources as possible, especially energy, water, detergent, chemical consumptions, and so forth. And the second pillar is, of course, circularity, and that's where you will also find all our efforts in qualifying what we call truly circular material. Truly circular means a focus on post-consumer recycled material that has already lived a lifetime at the end consumer. And if we talk about biomaterial, it's only a niche material, but then we really want also home compostable material. Exactly. Thank you very much so far.
So,
hi, everyone. Great to be here. My name is Frido. I'm Managing Director and co-founder of HolyPoly. Just waiting for my slides here. But we're a specialist for plastics recycling, focusing on engineering polymers. And also always keeping in mind that it's important to appreciate the material in and of itself. That's why we're called that, and that's why we have our corporate identity the way we have it. We're a team of 30 people on staff and 50 freelancers based in Dresden, in Germany, in the east of Germany, focusing on getting the executional barriers solved. Our key conviction is that we believe most challenges, at least the most priority challenges about plastics recycling are not technological, it's executional. We have to get our ducks in a row and collect the waste, sort it, and then compound it and apply it again. And we try to address these executional barriers by working with the manufacturers who make the decisions whether they go for virgin plastics or whether they replace them with recycled materials. So our key success metric is the percentage of post-consumer recycled substitution of virgin plastics. And here you can see the latest figures for Germany, and we focus on the durable goods where the engineering polymers are applied. And there you can really see that we are below 5%, sometimes way below that. And our vision is to make plastics recycling normal, so we have to get these blue bars, the percentage of post-consumer application in production, up. So it's a question of demand. We try to enable brand owners of durable applications, not packaging, to make different demand decisions. So one example I brought, we just launched this yesterday, is for Bosch Power Tools. They use polyamide 6 with glass fiber reinforcements. At the moment, before this project, 0% recycled materials because there are none. No mechanically recycled polyamides of the quality that they need. And this is really a prime example of how we find solutions, executional solutions, we found an untapped source of waste, which is end-of-life power tools. They're already in the European e-waste system, but the PA6 is not being recovered. We developed a process for that, and we are able to apply this 100% in the new housing. So it's not a quality problem, it's an executional problem. You have to find the feedstock, scale the process, develop and scale the process, and then overcome all the internal barriers to making the decision. And that's what we achieved here, so it's really closed loop project, which is something that we do. We also do take-back systems, consulting, lots of different things. But most importantly, I'd like to mention our new offering, which is kind of a materials insurance, because what Frank talked about is the new regulations, and they will come. They will mandate recycled content across the board for electricals, but also for lots of different applications. So also the packaging waste, which was the last panel, will not be available for other users anymore. So there will be a shortage, a severe shortage of recycled materials by the end of the decade, not only in Europe, but primarily in Europe. And what we are offering is to build new material streams for OEMs so that they're secured by then, and that they won't have to supply, and especially the price risks that are connected to it. To understand this, you have to look a bit into the medium term. That's why we brought a time machine. It's at the north entrance, and you can book a time travel experience there. So feel free to join me there to understand more what I'm talking about.
Frido, thank you very much. I think that's with the presentations. So let me ask you something very directly. We heard from Tatjana that there is a huge demand for plastic recyclates in technical applications. We heard the PPWR discussions right before us, end-of-life vehicle. Everybody's running to recyclates. And my biggest question is there enough recyclates in the quality for everyone? Is there enough, or are we lacking material?
I would say no and yes. No to recyclates, but yes to waste. So we have to build new streams to get to the engineering polymers. The waste is there. It's not just the application that's below 5%. It's also the recovery and recycling, right? We are wasting all of the stuff we have produced for the past decades. It's going to incineration, it's going to landfill, and a lot of the stuff is still in the basements as well. We also have to get that. So waste is there, the feedstock is there, but we still have some way to go to make it recyclates.
Okay. Tatjana, do you want to end something?
Yeah, sure, of course. So actually, we are very in line with you, with your thoughts. So we would love to have a kind of closed-loop feedstock from our machines, from E&E or from white goods, because you have to imagine the step that open-loop recyclates have to take, like packaging recyclates, is so much bigger to get to the quality that we need in comparison to the closed-loop feedstock, because there we already have the material developed 10, 20, 30 years ago to match those needs. So the step those materials have to take is much lower, but again, the recycling structure is not there. So maybe there's enough volume, but no one provides it.
Yeah, we're talking...
Up to now, at least.
But yeah, you said something very crucial at that point. 20 years, 2 decades. I turned 40 this year, and I barely remember what I did that in October back 20 years ago. But the machines, the washing machines, the dish dryer, everything from Miele is standing for performance, durability, and quality, running for 20 years. What are the challenges when you now take up recyclates in your product that you can ensure those qualities, those durabilities over the next 2 decades,
Or more.
Or more, yeah.
We'll last 200 years.
How do you ensure that? How do you deal with that now in a growing market?
Yeah, so first of all, we already talked about the feedstock. The better the feedstock, the higher the quality. The better the recycling process, the higher the quality. So it's not just melting and reproducing. You have to sort, you have to clean, you have to recompound. So you have to add additives and fillers that make the perfect match of the material to the specific appliance or part. And there's a lot of research involved, actually, on both sides. So we do this mutually with the supplier. hand in hand. And yeah, that's a lot of effort to secure those 20 years lifetime, even with recycled plastics, because you always have to keep in mind, especially post-consumer recycled plastics, they have lived a life. They have aged, they have been, the polymers have been damaged, old additives that might be already regulated today, like TPPA or other UV additives or so, they are already forbidden or regulated. This is also another concern. So how can we ensure as an OEM to sell safe material for the customer? And how can our suppliers give us the trust in the material? This is another big issue to us. It's also a matter of time, because we cannot just find a drop-in solution for one part and then we're safe with the quota that you just showed. We need to address hundreds of parts actually, and this takes a lot of qualification time, the same time as the virgin material. And last but not least, of course, it's going to be expensive, because right now the recycling strategies are ideas, they're pilot stages, but the big volumes are not there yet. So it's really hard. But I believe in the topic, and I believe that there will be one day mass recyclates on the market where we can all benefit from.
Frido, I see your head nodding.
Yeah, I agree with most what you said. I would just re-emphasize the trust part. I think that's the key issue here. The good news is that the material is very durable, obviously, and it's been, like you said, designed for this specific, or for high-performance application. Let's keep it more broadly. But there has to be a quality assurance, like you do it along the value chain anyways, but in a new type of more messy or more uncontrolled environment. Of course, it has to achieve the same quality goals, but it's a new type of achieving security or trust. And that's not only a process at the end, but it's a transformation internally, a mindset transformation, where I think everybody should focus on. And a lot has been achieved, in my opinion, in the past 5 years. I think 5 years ago, everybody said, well, yuck, this is waste, this is never going to work. And now it's completely different. And we're seeing initiatives, and it's not, there's a bit of like green hushing, certainly. It's not, there's the big targets of sustainability have vanished over the past years, but it's not like the internal process of addressing these issues and building the trust has stopped, in my opinion. So this, I think we're making progress, but we should accelerate, I guess.
Okay. Now let me be a little bit more picky on one point, because I know you, and let's phrase it that way. Why the heck shall we take up the recyclates? When it's so much offer, it costs more, it's so much on the regulatory side, on the controlling side. We talk about long distances. Why don't we stay at virgin material and, yeah, go from there? It'll make our life easier.
What does climate change cost? We're already at 1.5 degrees in 2025. We're headed for 3 to 4 degrees. Nobody can afford that, and no economy will be able to afford that. So the regulation will come. There will be carbon pricing. There will be mandatory targets, and it's just a question of how expensive is it for a company to transition to that new state towards climate neutrality. And those who start earlier will have a cheaper transition. It's as simple as that, in my opinion. Physics doesn't negotiate, I guess.
Yeah,
I was waiting for that.
That's kind of the idealistic approach, of course. So you have to consider the nature and the climate changes. And of course, there might be one point where it's more beneficial from an economic point of view to address sustainable material. But I think it's also an enabler. So every modern company, I hope, has their own sustainability strategies. And with recyclates, you can cover so many of those aspects: defossilization, carbon dioxide reduction, end of waste, so to say. So this is an internal strive, of course. But on the other hand, from a company point of view, so the politic answer is it's also an enabler to be a pioneer on the market. So if we can be the first ones to have those high quality recyclates, good for us.
Yeah,
and for the planet.
And you will reach cost parity. Maybe not for polypropylene, but for the engineering polymers, you can absolutely reach cost parity. It's just a transition period that needs investment and taking on risks. but you will reach cost parity, and you can, if you start now, you will stay at cost parity to today's virgin, while today's virgin materials will eventually become more expensive because of the carbon footprint that they have. So it's really an economic question, in my opinion, of course informed by climate.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's open up the floor to you guys sitting here.